The afternoon sun streamed to the windows of Mountain View Animal Clinic as Maria Santos gently held a German shepherd while Dr. Peterson examined the dog's injured leg. To the veterinarian and pet owners who frequented the clinic, she was simply Santos, the civilian veterinary assistant who had joined their practice 8 months earlier with excellent references and a natural talent for handling even the most aggressive animals. But when armed poachers burst into the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center next door, taking hostages and threatening to kill both the staff and endangered animals they were protecting, none of them realized they were about to witness Staff Sergeant Maria Santos, former military working dog handler with the 75th Ranger Regiment, transform from gentle animal caregiver into a precision marksman whose bond with working dogs and expertise with combat tactics would turn their violent assault into the deadliest mistake they would ever make. Welcome to Those Who Left a Trace, where ordinary people carry the most extraordinary secrets. Before we dive into this incredible story that will leave you speechless, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe that everyone deserves respect no matter how they appear on the surface, hit that subscribe button and join our community that honors the hidden warriors among us. The morning routine at Mountain View Animal Clinic in rural Colorado began before sunrise as Maria Santos prepared medications and equipment for another day of caring for the domestic pets and wildlife that made up their diverse patient population. At 30 years old, she stood 5 feet 3 inches tall with dark brown hair that she kept pulled back in a practical ponytail beneath her veterinary scrubs cap. Her warm brown eyes held a gentle compassion that pet owners attributed to natural affinity for animals, never suspecting the depth of tactical training and combat experience that lay behind that caring gaze. Maria wore the standard uniform of veterinary support staff, light blue scrubs decorated with paw print patterns, comfortable sneakers designed for long shifts on concrete floors, and the identification badge that marked her as a certified veterinary assistant. Around her waist hung a tool belt containing syringes, thermometers, and medical instruments that allowed her to provide immediate care for injured or distressed animals. To Dr. Michael Peterson and the other staff members who worked at Mountain View Animal Clinic, Maria was simply Santos, the civilian veterinary assistant who had joined their practice with impeccable references and demonstrated exceptional skill in handling difficult animals. She managed medical supplies, assisted with surgical procedures, and provided the kind of compassionate animal care that made their clinic a trusted resource for pet owners throughout the mountain community. What none of them knew was that Maria's understanding of animal behavior and medical care had been developed during 7 years as a military working dog handler with elite Army units, including 4 years with the 75th Ranger Regiment conducting combat operations where her canine partners had saved countless American lives by detecting explosives, tracking enemy personnel, and providing early warning of hostile activity. The transition from elite Army Ranger to civilian veterinary assistant had been one of the most emotionally challenging periods of Maria's life. 8 months earlier, a classified counterterrorism operation in Afghanistan had achieved its tactical objectives, but resulted in the death of Rex, her German Shepherd partner who had served alongside her for 3 years of combat deployments. The mission had successfully disrupted a major terrorist network, but the loss of her canine partner had created psychological trauma that required her immediate extraction from combat operations. For Maria, this had meant separation from the Ranger Regiment and reassignment to civilian employment that would allow her to work with animals while receiving the psychological support necessary to process her combat trauma. Her service record had been classified to protect operational security, and her transition to veterinary work had been facilitated through programs designed to help veterans find meaningful civilian careers. But Maria had approached her civilian assignment with the same discipline and dedication that had marked her military career. If her path to healing required working with civilian animals rather than military working dogs, then she would provide veterinary care that met the highest professional standards. Her work with pets and wildlife became a form of therapy that honored her commitment to animal welfare while helping her process the grief of losing Rex. Dr. Michael Peterson represented the civilian veterinary community that had welcomed Maria into their profession. At 42 years old, Peterson was an experienced veterinarian with 15 years of practice who had established Mountain View Animal Clinic as a respected resource for both domestic pet care and wildlife rehabilitation. His veterinary expertise was comprehensive, but his experience was limited to civilian animal medicine rather than the specialized requirements of military working dogs. Peterson's practice philosophy emphasized compassionate care for all animals, from family pets requiring routine medical attention to injured wildlife needing rehabilitation before release back into their natural habitat. His clinic served both the local pet owner community and the nearby Rocky Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary, providing medical support for conservation efforts throughout the region. Santos, we have a new admission from the Wildlife Sanctuary, Peterson announced as he entered the clinic's treatment area, carrying a transport crate containing an injured golden eagle. His tone was professional but carried obvious concern about the severity of the bird's injuries. Maria immediately shifted into her caregiving mode, approaching the transport crate with a calm confidence that had characterized her work with military animals. "What's the nature of the eagle's injuries, Dr. Peterson?" "I'll prepare the examination area and appropriate restraint equipment." Peterson appreciated Maria's competent response while preparing for what would be a challenging examination of a powerful predatory bird. The sanctuary reports probable gunshot wounds from illegal hunters. The bird was found near the protected habitat boundary with significant tissue damage to the left wing. Maria's expression darkened as she processed the information about illegal hunting that had injured a protected species. Her military experience had taught her to recognize the signs of intentional violence against innocent targets, whether human or animal. Dr. Peterson, gunshot wounds from illegal hunting suggest organized poaching activity rather than accidental injury, Maria observed as she prepared medical supplies for the eagle's treatment. The wildlife sanctuary should be aware of potential ongoing threats to protected species. Peterson nodded agreement with Maria's assessment while focusing on the immediate medical requirements of their new patient. The sanctuary has contacted law enforcement about increased poaching activity in the area. Our responsibility is providing medical care that gives this eagle the best possible chance of recovery. What Peterson didn't realize was that Maria's analysis of poaching activity incorporated threat assessment and tactical awareness that she had learned during Ranger training. Her understanding of illegal hunting patterns and security concerns was based on experience with hostile forces that used similar tactics against American personnel and their canine partners. As Maria assisted with the eagle's examination and treatment, she observed the bird's injuries with the analytical eye of someone who understood both animal medicine and ballistic trauma. The wound pattern suggested high-powered rifle fire from experienced shooters rather than accidental discharge by recreational hunters. The morning progressed with routine veterinary care as Maria and Dr. Peterson treated a variety of patients, ranging from routine vaccinations for family pets to complex medical procedures for injured wildlife. Maria's competence with animal handling and medical assistance consistently impressed both Peterson and the pet owners who observed her gentle but confident approach to animal care. Around 1,030 hours, their routine morning was interrupted by commotion from the Rocky Mountain Wildlife Sanctuary located adjacent to the animal clinic. The sanctuary served as a rehabilitation center for injured wildlife and a conservation facility for endangered species native to the Colorado mountains. Dr. Sarah Williams, the sanctuary's director, burst through the clinic's entrance with evident panic and fear. Williams was 36 years old, a wildlife biologist with 12 years of conservation experience who had dedicated her career to protecting endangered species from the threats posed by habitat destruction and illegal hunting. "Dr. Peterson, Maria, we need help," Williams announced breathlessly as she struggled to maintain composure. "Armed men have taken control of the sanctuary. They're holding my staff hostage and threatening to kill both the people and the animals unless we provide information about law enforcement investigations." Peterson and Maria immediately understood that the poaching activity they had discussed earlier had escalated into a direct assault on the wildlife conservation facility. The illegal hunters had apparently decided that violent intimidation was preferable to avoiding law enforcement attention. "Dr. Williams, How many armed individuals are involved? Maria asked, her tone shifting from gentle animal care to tactical assessment as her military training activated automatically. Williams looked at Maria with surprise at the transformation in her demeanor and the professional competence of her question. I counted at least 4 men with rifles. They arrived in military-style vehicles and moved with the kind of coordination that suggests organized criminal activity rather than casual poachers. Maria felt her Ranger training engage as she processed a tactical situation developing next door to their civilian veterinary practice. Armed criminals holding hostages in a facility containing both human personnel and endangered animals represented exactly the kind of complex threat scenario that had characterized many of her military operations. Dr. Peterson, Dr. Williams, we need to contact law enforcement immediately, Maria instructed with the calm authority that had marked her military leadership. This situation requires professional tactical response to protect both the hostages and the animals. Peterson stared at Maria with growing amazement at her transformation from gentle veterinary assistant to tactical coordinator. Santos, your assessment of the situation suggests experience with security threats that veterinary assistants don't typically possess. Maria realized that her professional response had revealed capabilities that exceeded civilian animal care, but the hostage situation took precedence over maintaining her cover identity. Dr. Peterson, I have some previous experience with security situations that might be helpful in coordinating with law enforcement response. Williams approached Maria with desperate hope as she recognized competence that could potentially help resolve the crisis threatening her staff and animals. Maria, if you have any expertise that could help save my people and the endangered species we're protecting, please share it with us. The conversation was interrupted by the sound of gunfire from the direction of the wildlife sanctuary, indicating that the hostage situation was escalating and that immediate action might be required to prevent casualties among both human and animal victims. Maria made the decision that would irrevocably compromise her civilian cover, but potentially save the lives of innocent people and protected wildlife. Dr. Peterson, Dr. Williams, I need to provide you with information about my background that will explain my assessment capabilities. Peterson and Williams listened with growing amazement as Maria prepared to reveal the military experience that had been hidden beneath 8 months of compassionate animal care. I am Staff Sergeant Maria Santos, United States Army, former military working dog handler with the 75th Ranger Regiment. Maria announced with the bearing that had marked her military service. I have 7 years of experience with tactical operations and 4 years of combat deployments where I coordinated with K-9 units in situations similar to what we're facing. The revelation explained everything about Maria's exceptional competence with animal handling, her obvious tactical awareness, and her calm response to the developing crisis situation. Peterson and Williams realized that their veterinary assistant possessed exactly the kind of expertise that could make the difference between successful hostage rescue and tragic casualties. Staff Sergeant Santos, Williams said, using Maria's military rank for first time, your expertise could be crucial for protecting both my staff and the endangered animals being held by these criminals. Maria acknowledged Williams's recognition while focusing on the tactical requirements of the developing situation. Dr. Williams, I'll coordinate with law enforcement response teams, but first I need to assess the threat level and determine what resources might be available for resolving this crisis. Peterson activated emergency communication systems to contact local law enforcement, while Maria began conducting tactical reconnaissance of the sanctuary facility from their clinic's vantage point. Her Ranger training provided her with the analytical framework necessary for assessing hostile forces and developing response options. The situation escalated when Sheriff Deputy Jake Thompson arrived at the clinic to coordinate law enforcement response to the hostage crisis. Thompson was 28 years old, a veteran law enforcement officer with 6 years of experience, but limited training in tactical operations involving armed criminal organizations. Dr. Peterson, I'm Deputy Thompson with the County Sheriff's Department. He announced as he entered the clinic, we received reports of armed individuals at the wildlife sanctuary. I need information about what you've observed. Maria approached Deputy Thompson with professional bearing that had characterized her military service. "Deputy Thompson, I'm Staff Sergeant Maria Santos, U.S. Army Rangers. I have tactical experience that might assist with your response to this hostage situation." Thompson looked at Maria with surprise and growing relief as he processed her claim to military expertise. "Staff Sergeant Santos, what's your assessment of the threat situation at the sanctuary?" Maria's response drew on years of experience with hostage rescue and tactical operations. "Deputy, we're dealing with at least 4 armed individuals using coordinated tactics to control both human hostages and endangered animals. This suggests organized criminal activity rather than opportunistic poaching." Thompson consulted his radio communications while coordinating with additional law enforcement units responding to the crisis. "Staff Sergeant, our tactical team is 40 minutes out. Do you have recommendations for containing the situation until specialized units arrive?" Maria studied the sanctuary facility through the clinic's windows while developing tactical options based on her Ranger training and combat experience. "Deputy Thompson, immediate priorities are preventing hostage casualties and protecting the endangered animals. The criminals appear to be using the animals as leverage against law enforcement response." The tactical coordination that followed demonstrated Maria's transition from civilian veterinary assistant to military advisor as she provided professional assessment of the hostage situation and recommended response procedures based on her Ranger Regiment training. "Deputy, the sanctuary layout provides multiple approach vectors for tactical teams," Maria explained as she sketched the facility's configuration. "However, the presence of endangered animals complicates assault planning because casualties among protected species could be as significant as human losses." Thompson nodded approvingly as he recognized the sophistication of Maria's tactical analysis. "Staff Sergeant Santos, your expertise is exactly what we need for developing an effective response plan. Can you provide more specific recommendations for approach and engagement procedures?" Maria's response incorporated both her military training and her understanding of animal behavior from her work with military working dogs. "Deputy, tactical teams need to consider that loud noises and sudden movements will terrify the animals and potentially cause the criminals to react violently. Successful resolution requires coordination that minimizes trauma to both human and animal victims." The situation became more urgent when radio communications revealed that the criminals had issued ultimatums threatening to execute hostages and kill endangered animals if law enforcement approached the facility. Maria realized that her unique combination of tactical training and animal expertise might provide options that conventional law enforcement couldn't consider. "Deputy Thompson," Maria said with calm determination, "I have experience with operations involving both hostile forces and animals. My background with military working dogs might provide tactical advantages that could help resolve the situation." Thompson studied Maria with growing respect for her professional competence and tactical expertise. "Staff Sergeant Santos, what specific capabilities do you bring to the situation?" Maria's answer would reveal the full scope of her military background and combat experience. "Deputy, I have precision marksmanship training, tactical movement experience, and specialized knowledge of animal behavior under stress conditions. My work with military working dogs included operations where protecting both human personnel and canine partners required advanced tactical coordination." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of the county's tactical response team, led by Lieutenant Colonel Rebecca Foster, a National Guard officer with extensive law enforcement coordination experience. Foster immediately recognized Maria's military bearing and professional competence. "Staff Sergeant Santos," Foster said as she approached Maria, "Deputy Thompson has briefed me on your tactical assessment. I understand you have Ranger Regiment background that could assist with our response planning." Maria straightened to attention as she prepared to coordinate with senior military leadership. "Yes, ma'am. I have 7 years of experience with tactical operations, including hostage rescue scenarios involving both human and animal considerations." Foster consulted tactical maps of the sanctuary facility while incorporating Maria's recommendations into the response plan. Staff Sergeant, your expertise with animal behavior could be crucial for minimizing casualties among both hostages and endangered species. I'm requesting your assistance as a tactical consultant. The joint law enforcement and military response that followed demonstrated Maria's transformation from hidden veterinary assistant to tactical advisor as she provided expert guidance for resolving the hostage crisis. Her unique understanding of both combat operations and animal behavior proved invaluable for developing procedures that could save both human and animal lives. Colonel Foster, Maria explained as they coordinated the tactical approach, the criminals are using the animals' distress as psychological pressure against the hostages. Reducing animal trauma through proper approach techniques will also reduce pressure on human victims. Foster nodded approvingly as she recognized the sophistication of Maria's analysis and its applicability to their tactical requirements. Staff Sergeant Santos, your assessment provides exactly the kind of specialized knowledge we need for successful resolution of this complex situation. The hostage rescue operation that followed incorporated Maria's recommendations for tactical procedures that accounted for both human and animal welfare. Her expertise with animal behavior and combat operations provided a framework for a coordinated response that minimized trauma while maximizing tactical effectiveness. For hours after the initial crisis began, the hostage rescue concluded successfully with all human hostages recovered safely and no casualties among the endangered animals being protected at the sanctuary. The criminals were apprehended without significant resistance, and the Wildlife Conservation Facility resumed its critical mission. Maria's role in the successful resolution attracted attention from both military and law enforcement leadership, who recognized the value of her unique expertise. Her transition from hidden veterinary assistant to tactical consultant had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded normal civilian animal care. Colonel Patricia Davis, commanding officer of the Colorado National Guard's Tactical Response Units, personally met with Maria to discuss her background and potential for continued military service. Davis was 51 years old, a career officer who understood the value of experienced Rangers in both military and civilian emergency response. Staff Sergeant Santos, Colonel Davis began as they met following successful hostage rescue. Your tactical expertise and animal handling knowledge proved crucial for today's successful operation. Your service record shows exceptional performance during 7 years with the Ranger Regiment. Maria straightened to attention as she prepared to discuss her military background with senior leadership. Thank you, Colonel Davis. I was honored to provide assistance that contributed to protecting both human lives and endangered wildlife. Davis consulted Maria's personnel file with evident admiration for her combat record and specialized expertise. Staff Sergeant, your combination of tactical training and animal expertise represents unique capabilities that could significantly enhance our emergency response operations. The conversation revealed opportunities that Maria hadn't considered during her 8 months of civilian veterinary work. Her demonstrated expertise had attracted attention from National Guard leadership, who recognized the value of her experience for advancing emergency response capabilities. Your first option is return to active military service with our tactical response units, providing specialized training and operations involving both human and animal considerations, Davis explained. Your second option is continued civilian employment with formal designation as a tactical consultant for complex emergency situations. Maria felt overwhelmed by the opportunity to return to meaningful military service while maintaining her commitment to animal welfare. Colonel Davis, I would be honored to serve in whatever capacity best utilizes my training, while allowing me to continue working with animals. Davis smiled warmly. Outstanding, Santos. Given your exceptional performance today and your unique expertise, I'm recommending you for consultant position. Your knowledge will enhance our capabilities while allowing you to continue your important work in animal care. The consultant appointment represented not just recognition of Maria's expertise, but also validation that her military skills could contribute to civilian emergency response while honoring her commitment to animal welfare. Her veterinary experience had provided her with additional perspective on the importance of protecting innocent lives, whether human or animal. 12 weeks later, Master Sergeant Maria Santos stood in the Colorado National Guard's Tactical Training Center, preparing to deliver instruction on operations involving animals and wildlife. The same expertise that had revealed her identity during the hostage crisis was now part of enhanced emergency response training that incorporated her military experience and animal handling knowledge. Her civilian veterinary career continued part-time, but her return to military consultation represented recognition that specialized expertise must be utilized where it can make the greatest difference for public safety and animal protection. The veterinary staff who had initially known her only as an animal care assistant now understood her military background and tactical capabilities. Their interactions reflected newfound respect for her combat experience and the professional competence she had demonstrated regardless of her assigned role. Dr. Peterson, who had witnessed Maria's transformation during the crisis, approached her with evident gratitude and professional admiration. Master Sergeant Santos, your expertise saved lives today and demonstrated capabilities that we never suspected. Your service has been remarkable in both military and civilian contexts. Maria acknowledged Peterson's recognition while maintaining the professional humility that had marked her entire career. Dr. Peterson, protecting innocent lives is what we're all committed to accomplishing, whether those lives are human or animal. My military training is only valuable when it contributes to that mission. Dr. Williams, whose staff and animals have been saved through Maria's tactical expertise, also expressed her appreciation for Maria's contributions to wildlife conservation and emergency response. Master Sergeant, your understanding of both tactical operations and animal welfare provided exactly what we needed to resolve an impossible situation. Maria's story became legend within both the military and veterinary communities as a reminder about the importance of recognizing expertise regardless of apparent position and the reality that valuable capabilities can emerge from unexpected backgrounds and experiences. Her patient service as a veterinary assistant had prepared her for emergency response responsibilities that required both tactical knowledge and compassionate animal care. The hostage rescue that had revealed her identity became a case study in coordinated response operations that accounted for both human and animal welfare. Her tactical recommendations had not just saved lives. They had established new protocols that enhance emergency response capabilities throughout the region. Most importantly, Maria had demonstrated that true professionals serve with excellence regardless of recognition or assignment, that healing from combat trauma can lead to new forms of service, and that the most valuable personnel are often those who combine specialized military training with genuine compassion for protecting innocent lives, whether human or animal. Her veterinary supplies, which had once defined her daily routine of animal care, now accompanied the tactical equipment that marked a return to military consultation. But they also carried the lessons learned during 8 months of civilian service that had taught her the importance of gentle strength and the reality that protecting the innocent requires both warrior skills and healer's compassion.